we're going to see if anyone decides to join. This is all an experiment just to see what is living, what is not working. Let's just say that. Okay, so while we are here, welcome to my kitchen. Welcome to my blessed kitchen. I am just lightening things up in life. So I am juicing a bit, nothing too extreme, but feeling like I just needed to get some more waters in my body, some more waters in the body. So we are just hanging out, cutting things, making some things happen here. So welcome, welcome. I am not a chef, so please don't mind how I chop things. I also need to chop these like really small so that they juice easier, because I feel that my juicer is on its last leg. So we're gonna do some carrot, some orange, and then I'm gonna do some apple and beet, ginger, turmeric. I'm just gonna juice it all up, put it all in the fridge, and then I'm gonna be good for, you know, a day or two to just get all of this. I know you should do juice immediately, blah, 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 but I feel like even just a little juice, if you need to put it in the fridge, it's fine. Not a big deal. So I live on this incredible island. I posted a short on the channel just recently. And I also did a little test run on our, friends over on TikTok to just see, what I like to test the waters. I feel like the app that I use the least these days is actually Instagram, and a lot of people are talking about that because the algorithm is very funny over there. So I test some things out on TikTok. I put some things here on this channel. And yesterday I posted a video. Today I posted a video that is, speaking to the construction, the destruction, as well as the rebirthing process, potentially, that this island in particular are going through. And, it's a very intriguing conversation, and especially as a foreigner who is, visiting as well. I'm like a long-term visitor. It's just like a very interesting conversation, because of course everyone wants a piece of paradise, right? If you can have a piece of paradise, get a piece of paradise. If you can live peacefully anywhere in the world, like go to the place where you can live peacefully, if that's not able to happen where you're from. And the reality is that there's a lot of war and conflict on the planet right now. And Thailand is amazing. Like, I feel like for Americans, it's been a little bit of a secret, not for everyone, but like, it isn't necessarily the place I think that Americans really think to travel or live, other than maybe like bucket list type of, wanting to see like the big things and like have that kind of exciting romantic moment. But now there is an influx of influx of migration coming from the States into Thailand. And it's just amazing. Thailand is an incredible refuge for so many people. And I've said this before on this channel, that the thing that I truly appreciate about Thailand is that you do have to make an investment in order to live here, right? You have to make that investment if you're going to travel here, if you're going to open a business, if you're going to somehow create something here. Like if you want to stay in the beauty and the peace of Thailand long term, then you are essentially making some type of an investment that goes back into the people, right? It goes back to the people who are hosting you in their country. And on like a personal, like my value system is just like, yes, like I agree with that, even though it might be harder for me as a foreigner to, you know, open the business or to own the land or purchase the land or whatever it is. It kind of should be like, it should be harder for me, and I should be paying a certain something to the kingdom, right? I should be giving back to the people. I shouldn't just be coming in here and taking advantage and pushing people out. And that for me is like personally in alignment with my value system. And of course, if I can't afford to be here, if I can't afford to give back to my host country, then probably it's time for me to move on. So on this island specifically, welcome. On this island specifically, the island of Koh Phangan, it is becoming very hostile. It's like so interesting to watch it all play out, and you know, to just gently observe, to try to hold a space or a place of peace, you know, and observe what's happening, and also just listen, right? Especially listening to the locals, listening to the people that are from here, whether or not they're from this island specifically, or they are from other parts of Thailand and they are coming here to work or coming here to enjoy the land. I think that it is very important to listen. And I think that Thailand, because of its touristic nature, has a huge sector and influx of people that are not really used to listening to the voice of Thailand. And maybe Thailand hasn't been so used to like speaking up about things because there hasn't necessarily been a need for it. And so what's happened on this island is, you know, the whole situation in 2020 when we went into lockdown. And you know, Thailand is a touristic country, right? Like it's all about the tourism here. I think there are other things happening as well, but it's, you know, a lot of it historically has been based on a lot of tourism and interaction in that sector. And you have, you know, this major influx of, once the doors opened, right, everyone is now a remote worker. And then you have all of the different wars that are taking place, and you have people with much deeper pockets that are able to come here and not just come for like a short-term visit, but for something that's more long-term. And the people of this island specifically, and it's obviously not everyone, and you know, everything is nuanced and layered. So this is kind of like my sort of generalization to just give you an understanding of the landscape that we're dealing with. The long-term traveler of this island, or the long-term inhabitant of this island, I would say probably like 80% would have been yogis, you know, wellness practitioners, artists, musicians. Then you have like the expat retiree kind of situation that's happening. And then you have the people that are holding the businesses here. And all of these are foreigners, right? All of this is Farang. When I came to the island, there was, I mean, honestly, I don't remember any like Thai yoga teachers in my first like year of being here, but the first year was also like shut down a bit, right? But even after being here for 3 years, when the gates reopened, there was maybe like 3 Thai yoga teachers on the island. and everyone else is Farang. Everyone else is a foreigner, and all of the businesses, even if there's a Thai partnership, seem to be pretty foreign dominated. So it's just very interesting. So those were more of like the long time inhabitants of the island. And what does that, what is it, what is that energy field? What does that create? And that, on the one hand, you might be like, whoa, well, that's like all, foreign people, but there's a certain vibe that's happening, right? Because these are the people that have, like for yoga, for instance, have gone to India and traveled to India, and they've done a ton of training, and they have a lot of experience, so they can potentially bring like a good yogic training to the island. And you have the Osho devotees and like all of these different kind of sects of wellness, where I think it was probably people that were very deep into their practices, and then essentially moved this way and set up a healing detox center. And of course, as we know, with the world of yoga, it gets more and more commercial, the trainings get faster and faster, and there's like less and less depth to it. Not to say that it's still not a decent training or a great experience for someone, but the level of depth starts to diminish. And I think that the commercialization of the island, it was already kind of heading in that direction. However, there was still like this vibe happening, right? There's still this vibe of like, and you can get whatever you want here. So if you don't want to like participate in the wellness world, that's fine. But the wellness world is a huge part of, I would say, the quote unquote community of this island, and like why people are intrigued by it. Because you can go to a bar, a party, a beach, a lot of different places than this island specifically. But people seem to be wanting to come here because there's this kind of like sparkly, oh, I want to take this retreat, or I want to do this training, or I want to be amongst like a lot of free spirited, nomadic, artful, creative type of people. So I think that was the energy field here. I think that was like really what the pulse was. And then you had sort of the touristic, like the full moon party, and you have these other things that people are, obviously interested in. It's like bucket list travel. So now with this, all of these people that have come to create these properties and these villas and these investment properties and all of that, and I'm not necessarily like against any of that. Like I know that that is a part of life and a part of change and growth and all sorts of things, and I could definitely argue that there is a benefit to that, like that maybe the island itself is starting to up level, and a lot of the older kind of maybe hippie paradigm, not backpacker travel, but like backpacker bum kind of energy, because like definitely people get caught in that, where they don't have a lot of money, but they want to live in paradise, so they're just kind of bumming around. Like definitely, if there's more money coming to the island, then there's an opportunity in a certain sense for everyone to kind of up level, right? So there's that, but we're just kind of at this turning point right now. We're not quite, I think, fully in it, but we're heading in that direction, and we're trying to release whatever this old paradigm was. And this is where the real like stickiness starts to happen, because you have the people that have been here for like over, let's say 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, and they were used to a certain way of living and existing on this island. And now it's changing. Now you can't afford the same simple life because, right, the land has gone up in value, and the properties that are being built is making everything go up in value. And then, you know, even if you live in a very simple bungalow or a simple house, the rents are going to be higher because they can be. And that's the nature, right, of any popular place that you are going to go and visit or try to live there. And especially even if before, it's like, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, right? I lived there for like 16 years in New York City. And right, there's certain neighborhoods where, yeah, it could have been really affordable at one time. But once that influx of people came in and all of the newer units and the newer places to hang out and everything is kind of up leveled, like, unless you had a rent controlled apartment, you got to pay the bucks or you got to move. And that's, I've said that before in this channel, like that is something that's happening here. And for that person who's been that kind of like expat, like you've been an expat, you don't really relate to your home country, right? So you've kind of peeled away from that and you've put yourself in this other country. And now you are just kind of at the whim of what is happening here, which is like a really deep wave of change, right? A really deep process for a lot of people. It's difficult to be like, well, where do I go? Especially when you feel like you have community here. You feel like this is where you've invested and you've tried to live very peacefully among the locals and abiding by the laws and making investments where you're required to make those investments. Not everyone is doing that, right? A lot of people are on just like a tourist visa. They work and they don't really have a business or a license, and there's a lot of that. And I think that Thailand is like ready to clean that up, and so people are angry. And the funny thing, it's not too funny, but it's like the irony is that the people who are angry are the spiritual people, right? The people who are the most infuriated are the people who hold space on the island, the people who are supposed to be these like elevated, conscious human beings. And they're really angry. And so now they have to project their anger at someone. And so who are they projecting their anger at? They're projecting their anger at anyone new that comes to the island. They're projecting their anger. They're not sitting with it. They're not doing their meditation. They're not doing their yoga practices. They're just really angry because, right? They're angry because there's this change. And anyone new that comes to the island is representing the influx of change that is inevitable. And it's really hard to just watch, I'm not around it physically, but there are these groups, right? There's these Facebook groups online, and everyone has something to say in these groups, and a lot of it is toxic. There's been a little bit of a rise of some people voicing some things where it does feel a bit more centered in the heart, especially. But there's a lot of vitriol, there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of anger about these, seemingly about these bigger issues in the global spectrum, right? Politics and war and all of this. But the reality is that it's not that they're just so angry that a war is taking place over here, this atrocity is happening here. They're upset that their shadow, right, their underworld is getting shaken up because the roots of this land are getting pulled up. And that's like what it is, and it creates a situation, even though that's not the intention, right? The intention is not that somebody wants to come here and like, build a property and, create this like negative energy. Like that's not anyone's intention any more than it's a cacao shaman's intention to bastardize a true cacao ceremony that you would experience with like the Mayan people, right? That's not their intention to do that, to do harm by that, but it is something that is happening on the island, and it has a certain ripple effect. So I don't think this conversation is that interesting for people, but it's fun. So this is just me, you know, doing lives. Maybe we'll move into some apple cutting, and we'll just pause there because, you know, we're down to 0 now. NFL, I am super. I'm taking care of my. Fantastic. Hi, welcome. Please feel free to say hello, type a comment, let me know where you're coming in from. I'm gonna rinse these apples real quick, and then we can, you know, dive back in to this very intriguing conversation, which is really just about shadow. It's about shadow and projection. Shadow and projection, right? Like, we think we're so superior and so clean and that we know everything, and it's just been very funny to like watch it all play out online and to see the people that, you know, are supposed to be these like very high level humans, and they're sinking to like the lowest of the lows, and it's so concentrated in an island, right? Like Koh Phangan, it's just so concentrated, and of course that energy is happening, you know, everywhere, but it's so concentrated here that like it's just powerful to witness. And then what that does, if you are awake in your consciousness, right? If you're awake, then you can have like a real check-in moment, and you can be like, oh, am I creating more hate? Am I like a part of the solution? Am I part of the problem? Like, can I just hold myself in neutrality? So, you know, it's happening all over the world. And this is I think it's a very powerful moment for anyone that is on a healing path, right? Anyone that is trying to move in a much more conscious type of way. Like, this is our opportunity to really try to hold that line and hold the line of peace and hold the line of integrity. It's easy for everyone to get so caught up in this group think of like, oh, these new people that are here on the island, they're the issue. We need to kick them out, you know, like Thailand needs to ban those people. And it's like, what? Like, who are you to say what Thailand should do, right? But then all of this like stuff gets jumbled up. And I mean, my Thai friends are not thinking that way. Right? My Thai friends are definitely holding the line of like peace and resilience, because that's just add elegance into that. And that is like you know, some good words to describe a Thai person, like peaceful, elegant, resilient, you know, and they don't really want this type of propaganda, right, to be moving through the system. And all of this propaganda is coming from Farang. It's all coming from Western people that think that they know anything. And I feel like the best way to move through life is to fully admit that we know nothing. Like, I don't know anything. So let me just zip it and just try to get along, you know, try to get on with life in like a harmonious way of being. And I feel like that is just, that works. It's working for me. I have a lot of peaceful people around me, which I really appreciate. And so, right, it's like the environment is mirroring my own psyche and my own attitude, where I don't feel like I have to know anything. All I do know is that peace is what's important. Like true peace. And true peace is a practice. You have to confront the darker shadows of your subconscious. You have to confront your own capacity to hate another human being. You have to be willing to confront that. You know, when you want to just like kick someone off the planet, you know, because you're so superior and you can do that. You got to confront that and recognize that that's actually not okay. It's not okay to like wage war, right? But that's a very difficult lesson when we see war being waged all across the planet. But that is the conundrum, right? And also the gift of like, can I go into meditation and can I confront this anger that I have? Can I confront my frustration? Can I confront my sadness? And if I can confront it successfully, then I can begin to transcend it. I can begin to transcend it, right? So even if I'm angry about all of these other exterior things and the island is changing and the villas and the this and the that, like, yeah, I can be frustrated with it and I can say, like, this is ugly and it's happening like at warp speed and like, where's it going, and like be concerned, right? But ultimately, right, the change is what's happening and I have no say in where it's going, right? Other than just bringing some awareness and hopefully engaging a conversation so that as people come in to land grab, right, after devastation, coming in, buying up the land, and that can be a blessing for the people who are receiving that money. And, you know, like, how can we do this in a more conscientious way? So it doesn't become like a situation in New York where everyone just gets kicked out of the neighborhood that you came to because that neighborhood had an authentic vibration, right? You're coming to this island because there's a very specific vibration here. And what it feels like is it's changing, right? Whether or not it's going to change into a higher vibration and people are going to still keep coming here, or it even goes into a lower vibration, but people still keep coming here because people are going to come here. It's beautiful, you know? But what are these spaces that we want to co-create together? What type of a vision are we holding? And I guess that's a lot to ask, right? Because that's probably the last thing on anyone's mind that wants to build a villa. They just want to build a beautiful place that's very Instagrammable and comfortable and luxurious so that people will come and rent and live their dream for a week, and they can make a bunch of money in the high season and maybe, you know, even some money in the low season. And, you know, it doesn't feel like they're being asked to think much deeper than that. But what if we start to think a little bit further ahead than just the ultimate goal of like, how are we taking care of the land? How are we taking care of the people, not just the residents, right, and the citizens, but like everyone that has chosen to live here and is also thinking in that way, right? And it's difficult because it's also like tourism. And when you travel, you start to not think about anything, right? It's like those things don't matter because you think about all those things when you're at home and it's your own personal space. But when you come to a foreign country, it's like all of a sudden you're littering and, you know, you're throwing your clothes on the floor at the hotel because somebody else is going to pick them up. And, you know, you just kind of become this other way for a period of time because it's not your home and you're paying to be there. So you have this entitlement to, I don't have to recycle, I don't have to do these things, like, wow, whatever. Like, there's no concern because you're on vacation and you're like, but there's a lot of people that are here that are not on vacation, right? That are living here longer term. And, you know, it's just a conversation like that. That is it. Hello and welcome. If you feel like you want to leave a comment, please feel free. We're just talking about the island, but we are at about 30 minutes. So maybe this is where we sign off. Again, these lives, the few ruin it for the many. Yeah, this is true. It's, and it's like, I understand people getting frustrated by that. I understand that as well, right? It's like the the few ruin it for the many, but there's also this capacity, hopefully, right, to change that, you know, to like hold ourselves in a way where we can integrate, I think is also like an interesting term, like integrating, like for instance, there's new people that come to the island, and I went to Koh Phi to visit some friends for a birthday party back in April, like around Songkran. And Koh Phi is very interesting. It was my first time going there, but it was so obvious that it is just tourism central, right? And like you see it, and it's like families, and it's very, very touristic, and it's fine. It's beautiful. It is, you know, it is what it is. But I could see that for anyone traveling in Thailand, like there's this whole attitude of like, you're supposed to understand what this is. And this attitude comes a lot from Farang, and then it seeps into the Thai people as well, where people come here and they just think of it like any other island in Thailand. Like when you look at Koh Phi, it's fully embracing the touristic attitude. And you do have a lot of people in Koh Phi that are just walking around in swimsuits. But then you come to Koh Phangan, and it's like, don't do that, you know, like why are these people, you know, degrading the Thai people? And this isn't necessarily coming from Thais, but this voice has come up in the last couple of years, which I also think is part of the Western kind of speaking up about things and social media, and, you know, it's a certain energy field that's in there for sure. And, you know, but then it's like, it is an island, so it's easy for people to assume that it's like the nature of the islands are all kind of the same. So I can see that in their consciousness, that they're not just coming here to try to be difficult, they're just trying to find their way through. But we assume that they should like know all of these things. And again, it's like the people that are here, that have been here, that get the most frustrated, when we should be the ones that are helping to integrate those people coming in, right? So if I'm teaching a yoga class and I'm like seeing that, you know, even something like safety, it's like, oh, well, if you're going to drive your bike and you're newer to driving a bike, like be mindful of the sand. I didn't know about the sand when I first got here and started to drive a bike, but I had a friend that was like, that's 99% of the crashes on the island are because you put your brakes on and you hit the sand and you fly, right? Or you make a little turn on the sand and like you tip over. There's no traction there. And I wouldn't have known that if this person who had been living here hadn't had told me. But there's this very superior attitude here of like that everyone should just like know everything, and they should already know how to do everything. And if they don't, then they're ruining it for everyone else. And it's like, but did you forget that you were also new to the island at one point in time? Like you didn't understand these things. So why are you so frustrated at these people that are coming in? And again, if you haven't been here, this is the beginning of this cast, I think it's because the land is going through this change. And there's this whole elevation process that's happening, for better or for worse, but it is happening. So these people that have been here kind of holding on to this very special time and place, especially if you are some type of nomadic, creative, healing, you're on the healing path, the healing journey, you know, this island is so, so super special. So yeah, we don't want to let that go. I understand that. You don't want to like leave that. So let's see here. I'm wanting to go to Thailand after seeing you speak, and I've been really wanting to have a spiritual experience. Yeah. So this is a good, it's a great place, you know. I think you can have a spiritual experience in many ways in Thailand. I think you can do a lot of like Thai specific experiences, like the meditation centers, just going into the temples, like learning about the culture. A lot of this can give you that experience. And there are a lot of detox centers, which again, like I'm kind of doing a little detox right now on my own with some juice, where the whole idea doesn't necessarily need to be that you need to heal something specific, but the idea is that you want to get out of your pattern. And that's travel alone, right, can help us with that, because we're stuck in a certain pattern wherever we're coming from in life. And when we travel somewhere, we break the pattern, right? We're in a new environment, we're doing all sorts of different things, we're living differently for just a period of time. And so you can take that a little bit deeper, and instead of just kind of traveling to see things and experience a new landscape, you can travel inward, right? By going to some of these places, by going to retreats, by going to certain places for specific reasons, to have that time to go a bit inward. And Thailand is a great place to do it, because there's also places like this island, which is also it's got a good balance, probably a little more so Western feel. It's like maybe a little too comfortable at times, but there's still a lot in the area to be experienced. So highly, highly recommend. And then, it could be somewhere where you want to come back again and again. You've been to Peru, and that changed your life. I don't even know what I'm looking for. Yeah. Not many of us do. Well, then I would just think about like time. I think about how much time do I have? What are my resources? And I would maybe start with that. Because if you don't know what you're looking for, the downside is that you could just fall into something, and you want to be really clear that what you're putting yourself into is going to be, it's going to be something of high quality. And right, but then at the same time, kind of not knowing if you land in a decent place, you can do like the wandering journey. I did a little bit of that in India with a friend of mine, where it was like we kind of traveled based on what we heard from other people, and we'd be like, okay, let's take the train here, let's go there, or oh, it's too hot here, let's travel in this direction. And in that sense, it was like so beautiful and so open. But India too, if you haven't been to India, that's a spiritual experience for sure. Thailand is also spiritual, and there's a lot of like centric workshops and different things that you can get into, that a lot of Westerners are holding those experiences here. But it's not like, I feel like India is just pretty earth-shattering. It's like it's just such a strong vibration. It's such a powerful vibe. So, and it's a real, like the temple situation and the ashrams, like, it's powerful. Thank you for your comments. Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, it's always good to meet good travelers, and that's like the best thing about traveling or, staying somewhere for a period of time. And that's what I loved about when I first went to India, is it completely shattered my Western attitude. It made me understand how like guarded I was, and the traveling just opened me up to connecting in a way that was like totally safe and still within my boundaries, but like, we're just connecting, and we're open, and we're allowing things to flow. And this also happens in Thailand on this island. I mean, you can just get into such beautiful conversations with people, and I feel that people are very, very open, at least the old guard, right? That's like a part of the beauty of this island is that, I remember when I first arrived here, I was like, I have to be careful about, getting into conversations, because I was also working, and it was like I would, be in the cafe, and all of a sudden I'm there for like hours talking about, everything, which just felt so good, but also like I need to get some work done, And I think the fear now, And what people are noticing now is that because there is this change, monetarily speaking, right? If it's becoming less affordable for the people that can really hold that vibration, then what does that mean, right? That means that there's more and more people that are coming here that lack that experience, probably because, you know, they've devoted their life to business and they work online, and like and I'm not saying for everyone, right? But like, I mean, if you're going to afford like these like top dollar villas, then probably there might be some gap there, right? Like one can assume. And it does feel like the island is becoming just like a little bit tough. And again, that's because people are upset that this is happening and they're projecting a lot of that shadow. But there are also, I will say, a lot of people here that are holding that line of peace, and we're seeing it unfold, and we are just trying to create very positive experiences and create positive spaces where, right, we can move through this shadow, and, you know, we can create positivity here. So it's all possible. So that's my 41-minute update. I'm gonna go, but thank you so much for hanging out. I will do more of these lives. I don't know when, I don't know where, but I'm just getting into it. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful and blessed day. See you soon. Much love. Thank you. Thank you.